The most dangerous temptation is not power, and it is not belonging. Kai had faced both and survived them. The most dangerous temptation is righteousness. The bone-deep conviction that you are good, that your cause is just, that the terrible things you do are not crimes, but medicine, and that the people who suffer for them simply do not yet understand the cure. The architect had not crossed an ocean to offer Kai power. Thrace had offered power, and Kai had refused it. It had not crossed an ocean to offer belonging. Ves had offered belonging, and Kai had refused that too. The architect had crossed an ocean to offer Kai the last and worst temptation, the one his whole house had been built on, the one that had grown a gentle faith into an empire of quiet horror. It had come to offer him the chance to be right. And the terrible thing, the thing Kai would carry for the rest of his life, was that part of the offer was true. The architect requested one final audience before it left or took the island, and Kai granted it, because he had learned from Sael that you face the thing you fear across a table, while you still can choose the table. They met in the hall of the 8th house, beneath the gray banner, where Det had died 3 nights before. Kai had insisted on the place, and the architect had understood why and had not objected. Ren stood at Kai's side, openly now, her cover long burned. Sael came too, uninvited, because Sael did not leave the most dangerous conversation on the island to happen without him in the room. And the architect came alone, ancient and still, and for a long moment the 4 of them simply regarded one another beneath the banner of the dead house that had made them all. "I will make you an offer," the architect said at last, "and I will make it honestly, because you have earned honesty, which is more than I have offered anyone in a very long time." Its still eyes held Kai's. "Come home, not as a prisoner, not as an ember to be collected, as my heir. I am 300 years old, child, and I am tired, and I have ruled the realm across the sea alone for longer than your island has memory. And there is no one in all that nation of hollowed, obedient, frightened people fit to follow me. They are what I made them, safe, quiet, empty. I unmade their defiance so thoroughly that I unmade their capacity to inherit anything." A pause. "And then the root grew back, here, in you, the gentle mind, the thing I spent 3 centuries certain was dead. And I find, to my own astonishment, that I do not want to destroy it. I want it to rule after me." It leaned forward. "Come home and inherit the realm and remake it. You think the remakers are tyranny. You are right. So change it. You will have the power I have, absolute, over a nation. You could unmake the fear I built. You could remake the realm gentle in your own image, the way your half of our house always dreamed. Everything Carr hoped for when he saved us, you could finally build. But only if you take the throne that can build it. I am offering you the chance to make the whole argument come right at last, to prove the gentle mind was true on the largest possible scale, to save an entire nation from what I made it. All you have to do is come home and rule." And here was the horror. Part of Kai wanted it. Not the power. He had grown past wanting power for its own sake, but the rest of it. The chance to take a nation of hollowed, frightened people and make them whole again. To undo 300 years of quiet horror. To prove the gentle faith true not in one stubborn ember, but across a whole realm. That Kai wanted, with an ache that frightened him as much as the hunger ever had. "You feel it," the architect said softly, watching his face. "Of course you do. It is the truest thing I have ever offered anyone. I am not lying to you, child. That is what makes this different from every trap these island people said. I am offering you exactly what you say you want. A world remade gentle. The only catch is that to build it, you must first hold the power to build it. You must take the throne. You must become, for a time, the thing you hate, so that you can unmake it from within. It is the only way. Gentleness without power is what you are now, a single ember, chained, grieving, about to be crushed between a frightened council and an empire. Gentleness with power is a throne from which you could heal the world." It spread its ancient hands. "I am offering you the second thing. I am offering to make the gentle mind strong enough to finally win. Refuse, and the gentle mind stays what it has always been. A beautiful, losing argument that dies in cold halls, mourning friends it could have saved. Is that what you want? To be right and powerless and dead? Or to be right and strong and able to make right real?" It was Wren who answered before Kai could. Wren, who had spent her whole life learning to hear the exact place where a true thing was being used as a knife. "There it is," she said quietly. "That's the trap. That's the real one, the one under all the others." She looked at the architect with something like awe and something like horror. "You're not lying. That's what makes it perfect. Every word is true. He could take your throne. He could try to remake the realm gentle. And do you know what would happen?" She turned to Kai. "You'd hold absolute power over a nation, with a hunger in your wrist that grows every time you use it, surrounded by hollowed people who can't say no to you, with no one left who's afraid of you and stays, because you'd have left me, left this island, left everyone who knew you before. And you'd unmake the fear, and then you'd unmake the next obstacle, and the next, all for good reasons, all to build the gentle world. And in 30 years, or 50, or 100, you'd be exactly what's standing in that doorway right now. Old, and certain, and tired, and tender. Offering the throne to the next ember, because you'd unmade everyone capable of telling you no." Her voice broke. "That's not how you save a nation, Kai. That's how you become the thing that needs saving from. It already happened once. To them." She pointed at the architect. "It started gentle too. It started with someone who wanted to make the world right. That's what's in the doorway. That's what the gentle mind becomes when you give it a throne and take away the people who love it enough to be afraid of it." The architect did not argue. That was the most chilling thing. It simply looked at Wren and then at Kai with the still eyes of something that had heard the truth and was measuring it. "She is right," the architect said softly. "That is exactly how it happened. I was the gentle mind once, before the argument, before the fall. I wanted to remake the world kind." A pause that contained 300 years. I took the throne to do it, and there was no one who loved me enough to be afraid of me. And so I unmade the fear, and then the defiance, and then the grief, and then the love. All for the best of reasons, all to build the gentle world. And I built that instead. A gesture, vague, toward the harbor, the ship, the hollowed nation across the sea. I am what the gentle mind becomes, child, when it wins. That is the secret I have carried for 300 years. I am not the surgeon's mind that defeated yours. I am your mind, grown strong, given a throne, left alone with its own good intentions until they hollowed out the world. The still eyes were terrible now. So you see, the offer is even more honest than you knew. I am not offering to corrupt you. I am offering you my throne, so that you may become me, slowly, gently, for all the right reasons. Because I am tired, and I would like, before the end, to hand the world to someone who still believes the lie I started with. It would be a kind of mercy, to both of us. The hall was very quiet. No, Kai said. He said it gently. That was the thing Wren noticed, the thing she would remember. He did not say it with rage, or defiance, or fear. He said it the way you decline something you understand completely. No, I won't take your throne. Not to corrupt the realm, and not to heal it. Because you've just told me the truth. That the gentle mind with a throne, and no one to fear it, becomes you. And I believe you. So I won't take the throne. He looked at the thing that was his own future, offered on a plate. I'll stay here, chained by a frightened council, grieving a friend I could have saved. A beautiful losing argument that dies in cold halls. Yes, all of that. I'll stay exactly that. Because the moment the gentle mind decides it deserves a throne to make things right, it stops being gentle. The whole point. The thing Kor could never quite say, the thing my house died not understanding. The whole point is that gentleness isn't gentleness if it's holding absolute power. It's just tyranny that hasn't gotten started yet. He stepped forward. You want to hand me the world so I can become you slowly. I'd rather stay small, and chained, and grieving, and true. The gentle mind doesn't win by taking the throne, you ancient, tired, terrible thing. It wins by refusing it, even when refusing it costs everything. Especially then. He held the architect's eyes. That's your answer. That's the end of the argument. 300 years, and the answer is just no. No throne, no matter how good the reason. Now take your ship and your hollow nation and go home, and leave the losing argument to lose in peace. The architect left. It did not take the island apart. It did not fight. It had crossed an ocean certain of one thing, that the gentle mind was a lie that power and grief would always burn away. And it had been refused, twice, by an ember that lost its friend rather than break, and refused a throne rather than corrupt. And a being that has been certain for 300 years, when it is finally and completely wrong, does not rage. It simply withdraws into the dark to reckon with the size of its error. But it did not leave without cost, because the architect was not Vess, and it would not be refused for nothing. As it turned to go, it looked at Wren, at the girl who had named the trap, who had been the wall between Kai and the throne, who was the whole reason the gentle mind had stayed gentle. And it understood, with 300 years of clarity, exactly what she was. You, it said softly, you are the thing I never had. The witness. The one who loves and fears and stays. A pause. Kawa was right about you then. He always was a sentimentalist. And then, with terrible gentleness, almost kindly. "I cannot leave you with him, child. You understand. You are the only thing that keeps the gentle mind gentle, and I have spent 300 years proving that an ash alone, without a witness, becomes me. If I take you, then in time, perhaps a long time, but in time, he becomes mine after all. Not by my throne, by his solitude. It is the patient way. It is the only way left to me." It raised one ancient hand. "I am sorry. You are precisely what our house needed, and that is exactly why I cannot allow him to keep you." And it reached for Ren, not to kill her, but to unmake her, to take her from Kai, the way Kawa had warned the hunger itself would one day try, to leave the gentle mind alone with its power and its grief and its slow, inevitable corruption. Kai moved. What happened then, the island would tell for 300 years, and never get right, because there were only 4 beings in the hall who saw it, and only 2 who survived to speak of it. Kai put himself between the architect and Ren, and he opened the hunger, fully, all the way, the thing he had refused to do even to save debt, and he turned 300 years of his dead house's gentle, losing, stubborn faith against the thing that had betrayed it. It was not a battle of fire. It was a battle of unmaking against unmaking, ash against ash, the architect's 3 centuries of practiced hunger against Kai's single year of refusing it. And by every measure that should have mattered, Kai should have lost. The architect was older, vaster, more practiced, a hunger that had unmade a nation. Kai was an ember. But the architect's hunger had spent 300 years feeding on the hollow and the obedient and the unresisting, and it had forgotten, had unmade in itself the very memory of, what it was to be opposed by someone with something to protect. And Kai's hunger, loosed at last, and aimed not at a throne or an enemy or his own grief, but at the single task of keeping Ren in the world, did the thing the architect had told him was impossible. It stayed his. Even fully open, even at its most ravenous, with all the walls down, it stayed gentle, because it was being spent on love instead of power. And that, it turned out, was the whole difference the architect had never understood. Not whether you open the hunger, what you open it for. Kai did not unmake the architect. You cannot unmake 300 years in a single night, but he unmade its certainty, and its grip, and its working. He took apart the thing it reached for Ren with, the way he had taken apart Vess's working in the square, but vaster, total, final. And he kept taking, kept opening, kept pouring out everything he was, until the architect did the thing that nothing on the island had ever made it do. It retreated. From an ember, from the gentle mind, from the losing argument that would not lose. "Enough," the architect said, and there was wonder in it, and grief, and something that might, in a thing so old and so hollow, have been the ghost of relief. "Enough, child. You have made your answer. I believe it now. I did not believe it was possible, and you have made me believe it. And that is a thing no one has done to me in 300 years. It drew back, ancient and tired and, for the first time, uncertain in a way that looked almost like peace. The gentle mind can hold the gift, with a witness, with something to protect, without a throne. You have proven it. I came to end the argument, and you have ended it, and the answer is not the one I spent 3 centuries enforcing. It turned to go. I will leave your island. I will leave you your witness, and I will go home to my hollow nation and sit on my throne and wonder, in the time I have left, whether it might have gone differently, whether, 300 years ago, if there had been someone who loved me enough to be afraid and to stay, I might have been you instead of this. A pause. Keep her close, last gentle ember, closer than the gift. She is the whole of your difference from me. I learned that tonight, 3 centuries too late. There was a moment during the architect's final audience that only 2 beings on the island truly understood, and one of them was not in the room. Far below the fortress, in the deep stone dark, Kaur felt the architect arrive in the hall above the way one feels a storm that has been coming for 300 years finally break. He had known it was on the island. He had felt it cross the water, felt the cold of it, the vast familiar wrongness of a hunger he had once stood beside in a harbour on the last night of the world. And when it came into the hall of the reborn house, when it stood beneath the grey banner and offered the gentle ember its throne, Kaur, 3 centuries away, buried in the rock, felt the shape of the offer and wept his dry, tearless weeping. Because he had heard that offer before. He had heard it on the last night, in the harbour, from this same being, younger then, not yet the architect, only the most ascendant voice of the surgeon's mind, the voice that had said to him, as the 7 houses burned their house above, "Come with us, Kaur, across the sea. Help us build the world right. We will have the power to remake everything broken, and so much is broken. Come and build the gentle world with us, from a throne strong enough to make it real." And Kaur had refused, had stayed, had saved them anyway, sent them across the water, and crawled back into the rock to die. Because he had understood, even then, even young, that the gentle world built from a throne strong enough to make it real was not the gentle world at all. It was the thing the throne made of you. He had refused the exact offer the architect was making Kai now. He had been the first to refuse it. And then he had spent 300 years wondering if his refusal had been wisdom or cowardice, faith or merely fear. Now, in the dark, he listened with his whole ruined being as the gentle ember above him faced the same offer he had faced. And Kaur prayed, to whatever an unmaker prays to, which is mostly silence, that the boy would do what he had done. Refuse. Stay small. Choose the losing argument on purpose. And when Kai refused, when the word no came down through 300 years of stone, gentle and certain and final, Kaur made a sound in the dark that he had not made in 3 centuries. He laughed, softly, with something that was almost joy. "You see," he whispered, to the architect he could not see, to the harbour of long ago, to the version of himself that had crawled into this rock, certain it had failed. "You see, it was not cowardice. It was not fear. The boy proves it. 300 years, old friend, and another of us reaches the same edge you offered me, and steps back from it, exactly as I did. We were right. The gentle mind was right. It only needed someone to do it again, where the whole world could see, so that I could finally believe it myself." His dry voice cracked. "I have waited 300 years to know I was not a coward on that harbour. And a boy I found weeping in the dark has just told me, without knowing it, that I was a man who refused a throne. That is all I ever was. That is enough. Gods, after 3 centuries, that is enough." In the hall above, Kai did not hear it. But later, when he went down into the dark to tell the old man everything, he would find Kawa changed. Lighter, somehow, more at peace than Kai had ever known him. And he would not understand why, and Kawa would not fully explain. Some debts the living pay the dead without ever knowing they paid them. Kai had paid Kawa a 300-year debt with a single word, and never knew. And that was as it should be. The dead ask only that we carry the name. Sometimes, without meaning to, we carry the whole man home. The architect's ships left at dawn, both of them, the envoy's and its own, sliding out of the harbour lightless and vast, carrying the hollow nation back across the sea, leaving the island alive and the gentle mind standing. Kai had won. Against every measure, against the council and the remakers and the architect and his own hunger, he had won. And kept himself, and kept Ren, and proven the thing his whole house had died not knowing. But victory does not end the game. He had learned that a year ago, and the season had spent itself teaching him again. Because, as the architect's ship passed the harbour mouth, Vess, proud, graceful, wounded Vess, who had knelt to the architect and watched the ember refuse a throne the envoy would have killed for, Vess looked back at the island, at Kai standing on the sea wall, and did something the architect did not see. Vess smiled, and raised one hand, and made, against the dark sail, a small sign, a thin black ring traced in the air, the mark of their shared house. And Kai understood it, across all that water, for exactly what it was. Not a farewell, a promise. The architect was 300 years old, and tired and ready, at last, to wonder if it had been wrong. But Vess was young and ambitious, and had just watched a chained ember on a cold rock refuse a throne and humble the thing that had ruled their whole world. And Vess had not seen a tragedy in that. Vess had seen an opening. A throne that the rightful heir had refused, an architect grown uncertain and weak, a realm across the sea, hollow and obedient and waiting for whoever was bold enough to take it. The architect had come to make Kai its heir. Kai had refused, and Vess, watching, had decided to become the heir instead, and to come back, one day, not as an envoy, but as the new and hungry master of the realm across the sea, to finish what the architect had been too tired and too uncertain to do. Kai watched the ships vanish into the fog, and felt the promise hanging in the air where the ring had been, and knew that he had not ended anything. He had only won the right to face something worse, later, when it was ready. But that was tomorrow's war. Tonight, he was alive. Ren was alive. The island was alive. Det was dead and would always be dead, and Kai would carry that. And the gentle mind, against 300 years of certainty, had held. It would have to be enough. On Blackflint, it was the most anyone ever got. That was Sigil and Ash, Episode 19, Ash Against Ash. The story concludes its second season in Episode 20, The Weight of a Crown. Subscribe so you don't miss the finale.